It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
Wacky Wednesday, everybody. This is ZiFM Sport on a Wednesday, the lockdown edition. Welcome to it. From our homes to the comfort of your homes, you will hear from Barry Manandi, Mike Madoda, Mark Paus, Chris, and Alois Bunjira. My name is Sean Tafirenyika. I'm the producer of ZiFM Sport. I hope you're staying at home and being safe. Last week, we profiled NBA's Holy Trinity. Tonight, we take it to the tennis court where we will feature the Big Four. For most of the 21st century, men's singles tennis has been dominated by the Big Four of Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, and Andy Murray. What are your thoughts on the Big Four? Who's your GOAT? Will we ever see such dominance in tennis? The handle is at ZiFM Sport on Facebook and Twitter. Do let me know. We've also got our power play, and we'll also keep you up to date with what's happening in the world of sport and around the world in 60, plus updates from the beautiful game, as well as our local sports news roundup. In fact, let's start there with Barry on the home front for the latest in local sports.
The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Our local sports news roundup starts with cricket news, where Zimbabwe cricket legend Andy Flower, who celebrated his 52nd birthday yesterday, says his best cricket memory in the colours of his country will always be the moment the Chevrons won their first test in Pakistan in 1995. The global cricket family yesterday took time to congratulate the former Zimbabwe captain, who has also transformed himself into a leading coach in the game, having taken charge of England. This year marks 25 years after that achievement. Flower, in conversation with former teammate Pomi Mbangwa, who is now a SuperSport commentator and pundit, said he will always treasure that maiden win over Pakistan. And we say to Andy Flower, happy birthday from ZiFM Sport. On to the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League, where Highlanders returning striker Mkhwekeli Dube says he draws inspiration from former Boso strikers, the late Adam Adamski Ndlovu and Stuart Shuto Murisa, as he follows in their footsteps of longevity in the game. Dube, who is now 37 years old, has been in the game for the past 21 years and is still going strong, becoming one of the oldest players in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League. After winning 3 consecutive titles with FC Platinum, he returned to Highlanders, where he started his top flight career over 20 years ago, penning a 1-year contract. Let's wrap it up with more news out of the top tier of domestic football. Now, the Premier Soccer League is in no hurry to start talking about the start of the 2020 season until it is safe to do so, as the coronavirus pandemic has an unprecedented impact on the sporting world. This comes amid growing calls for the local league to adopt the August to May calendar. The 2020 season was supposed to have kicked off last month, but the spread of the novel coronavirus made it impossible. World over, some leagues are drawing up different contingency plans to resume their seasons under strict guidelines. We watch that one with interest.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
In terms of popularity, the men's singles game is the pinnacle of professional tennis, and it has produced some of the greatest tennis players of all time. In recent years, it has been through an uncharacteristic period of dominance by a small number of players. These players have come to be known as the Big Four, and they have completely dominated men's tennis from the early 2000s. Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, and Andy Murray, the beasts. The run of the Big Four dominance could be thought to have started in 2003 when Federer claimed his first Wimbledon title, but it would be in 2004 when he went on to win all but one of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments that the dominance really began. And in 2005, before we started to see the next Big Four, Rafael Nadal on the big stage claimed his first Grand Slam at the French Open. And shortly afterwards, the Big Four took shape as they won virtually every tournament that was out there. It was either Roger Federer winning it, or Nadal, or Djokovic, or Murray. Now Mike will feature the King of Clay, Rafael Nadal, but before that, Chris will serve it off with the profile of Roger Federer.
Roger Federer is the greatest of all time, distinctly graceful, and that serve seemingly touched by the gods. He's a sublime tennis player, and he connects with fans not just on his on-court performance, but emotionally as well. He's my all-time favorite tennis player, and I know I'm not alone. The Fed Express, as he's affectionately known, was introduced to tennis as a toddler, but he was also a gifted soccer player. He went on to drop soccer at age 12 as he wanted to focus on tennis, and this is because he says he wanted a bit more control in terms of his wins. It's at this time he met former player and tennis journeyman Peter Carter, who's actually credited by Federer as having influenced and created the playing style he still uses today. His first major win came in 2004, and a change in his attitude actually coincided with his on-court success. He finished 2005 with the US Open and Wimbledon and went into 2006 on a high. The high continued as he broke records, holding multiple titles at the same time, and statistically 2007 is the best year in his career. He spent 310 weeks as the number 1 ranked player in the world. 237 of those weeks were consecutive, the most of any men's tennis player since the inception of the rankings, and that was in 1973. In 2016, he had to undergo knee surgery while dealing with a back injury, and as a result, he took a hiatus from tennis. He came back to win the Australian Open, climbing the rankings from 17 to re-enter the top 10 at number 6. And since this period, he's actually become a lot more selective about the tournaments that he participates in. He dominated the game at his peak, and he's won more Grand Slam titles, a total of 20, which is more than any other men's singles player. He's also the first men's singles player to have reached 10 consecutive Grand Slam tournament finals and a total of 31 Grand Slam finals. He's earned a doubles gold medal at the Olympics and also a men's silver medals. That was in 2008 and 2012 respectively. He won the Laureus World Sportsman of the Year 5 times. That was 2005, 2008 and then 2018. He's also won the Laureus World Comeback of the Year following his 2017 Renaissance. His versatility has been described by former number 1 Jimmy Connors, saying, "In an era of specialists, you're either a clay court specialist, a grass court specialist, a hard court specialist, or you're Roger Federer." He's an absolutely elite athlete, all-court, all-round player known for his speed, fluid style of play, and exceptional shot-making, which makes for a beautiful watch for any tennis fans. He mainly plays from the baseline, but he's also comfortable at the net, having one of the best volleys in the game. He's known for his effortless movement around the court and excellent footwork, which enables him to run around shots directed to his backhand. He plays with a single backhand, which also gives him really great variety. He's averaged 90% of service games won throughout his career, oftentimes coming up victorious in clutch or pressure service games. His serve is difficult to read, and also his first serve is typically around 200 or 220 kilometers per hour. One of the most notable things about Federer is his cool demeanor and emotional control on the court. This is really in contrast to his early career, where most of his games ended up in frustration and some tantrums on the court. Most of his professional game now has been characterized by a lack of outbursts or emotional frustration at errors, which gives him advantage over less controlled opponents. Mentally, other players have said Roger Federer is unplayable. He's one of the highest earning athletes in the world as of June 2019 on the Forbes World's Highest paid athletes list, and he's endorsed by Japanese clothing company Uniqlo and Swiss companies including National Swiss, Credit Suisse, Rolex, Lindt, and also his endorsement by Mercedes-Benz China in 2010 was extended into a global partnership deal. His other sponsors include Gillette, Wilson, Moet and Chandon, and previously he was an ambassador for Nike, NetJets, AMG, and also Maurice Lacroix. In terms of philanthropy, he does a great deal of work through the Roger Federer Foundation with charities all across Southern Africa. And he says his mom has been the driving force behind where and how he directs his giving back. She's South African, and also that's done quite a lot for charities in South Africa. He's been involved in a number of exhibition matches to raise money for charities. These include Match for Africa and Hit for Haiti. 100 titles, 1,200 match wins later, he's living and playing in an era where three of the best players of all time are playing at the same time. He's much older than some of his opponents now, and he's stretched that playing age in tennis, making his success even more astounding. Despite all of this success, he remains humble, relatable, and incredibly graceful. Roger Federer truly is the greatest of all time.
Z.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
On the 3rd of June 1986, on the Mediterranean island of Mallorca, one of the biggest stars the world of sport has ever seen was born. His name, Rafael Nadal. At the age of just 3, his uncle Tony Nadal, a former tennis player himself, started working with him, seeing an aptitude for the sport in the young Rafa. At the age of 8, Nadal won an under-12 regional tennis championship, giving his uncle Tony the incentive to step up his training. He stepped up his training, and young Rafa stepped up to the plate because he turned professional at just the age of 15. And at the age of 16, Nadal made it to the semifinals of the boys singles tournament at Wimbledon. At 17, he became the youngest male to reach the 3rd round at Wimbledon since Boris Becker. In 2005, when he was just 19 years old, Rafa won the French Open, the first time he competed in the tournament, and his world ranking shot to number 3. Nadal won 11 singles titles that year, 8 of which were on clay, and he was soon aptly dubbed the King of Clay. Let's get on to the golden years of Rafael Nadal when he established himself as the top player in the men's game. Rafael Nadal won his 2nd straight French Open and added 4 more titles in 2006. The following year, he won again at Roland Garros and took home 5 other titles. Nadal then poured it all on in 2008, winning the French Open again, in addition to winning Wimbledon, where he beat rival Roger Federer in the longest final in Wimbledon history. It was an epic game. They talk about epics in the world of sport. This has got to rank right at the top. This was against a Roger Federer, who a lot of people thought was unbeatable on grass, but Rafa Nadal pushed him to the 5th set, and in the 5th set, he just wore him down. The glory didn't stop at Wimbledon, because at the end of that win, after he beat Roger Federer, he had a career best 32 match winning streak, and then he later on went on to add the gold medal at the Beijing Olympics. So he was now world number 1, and he was the holder of the French and the Wimbledon titles. And then early in 2009, he would add the Australian Open. In 2010, he was triumphant at the French Open and Wimbledon, and his subsequent win at the US Open made him just the 2nd men's player to achieve the career Golden Slam. That's victory at all 4 majors as well as Olympic gold. The following year, Rafael Nadal led the Spanish Davis Cup team to victory for the 4th time, but he surrendered his number 1 ranking after losing to Djokovic in the Wimbledon final. He gained some measure of revenge by defeating the Serbian star at Roland Garros the following year to claim a record 7th French Open singles titles. But he's got a high-octane star, high-energy star, ultra-aggressive star, and the injuries began to set in. So the years sort of like between 2013 and 2018 were years blighted by injury, 2015 being his worst year because he couldn't even get it going even on clay, which was his favorite surface. But he began something of a comeback in 2016, 2017, and he actually made it to the final of the Australian Open, where he pushed Roger Federer all the way, and Roger Federer praised Nadal for his comeback and his resilience. But in 2019, again, Rafael Nadal stormed to prominence in the men's game. He was absolutely sublime. He just didn't have a good Australian Open. He went on to win the French Open, winning his 12th French Open title, record-extending performance at Roland Garros. And then he also added the US Open in New York, where he held off a stubborn Daniil Medvedev in 5 sets to claim his 4th US Open and to make it 19 career Grand Slam titles. The only man ahead of him is Roger Federer. What has made Rafael Nadal? For me, it has been his aggressive behind the baseline playing style that is built on a heavy topspin, ground strokes, consistency, speedy footwork, and total court coverage. Technically speaking, I think clay is the hardest court to conquer, and when you're a king of clay, there must be some reasons for that. On clay, you know, if you ever played tennis, after the bounce, the ball dips down its speed while rising much more than expected, giving the player the time to adjust. So that means you've got to grind for your points. You have to generate the pace. You have to generate the power. Unlike grass and hard courts, you can't get away with serves or can't change the direction of the ball easily. That's where his greatness comes into play. He always makes you play one more ball to win. He will make less errors as possible, which means that you've got to earn your points. His forehand digs out basically every ball, and he will not fail to capitalize on court openings. He's got a very lethal forehand, but he's also got a deadly backhand, because his uncle Tony actually made him practice with his left hand, which was his weakest hand. So it meant that he developed a very lethal backhand. But I think his strongest shot remains that helicopter forehand of his. It's absolutely brutal. Rafael Nadal has been dating girlfriend Shishka Pereo since 2005 and revealed that they became engaged in January 2019. She actually serves on the Rafa Nadal Foundation as a project director. That's the story of the King of Clay, Rafael Nadal.
Rafa, the 19-time Grand Slam champion. He's got 1 Australian Open, 2 Wimbledon titles, and 4 US Opens. But on that list, there are 12 French Open titles. They don't call him the King of Clay for nothing. We've heard about his amazing attributes as a player from Mike, the baseline power hitting, that helicopter forehand that Mike talked about. But we could have lost him to football. You know, with football in his blood and tennis being so demanding, Rafael Nadal had to make a serious decision when he was 12 years old. There was an opportunity for him to focus on football and hoping for the best, or to pursue tennis full time. Thank goodness he chose tennis, and although it's impossible to tell how great he could have been, most people think it's the right decision. And at the moment, he's a big Real Madrid fan, but he certainly chose tennis, and we are so grateful for that. And before we heard about Rafa, Chris Profile, the man that they call the Fed Express, Mr. Tennis, Roger that, the GOAT, Roger Federer. And like we heard from Chris, Roger Federer also dropped football to focus on tennis. He's a big FC Basel fan in his native Switzerland. Now Federer has won a record 8 Wimbledon's men's singles titles, 6 Australian Open titles, 5 US Open titles, and only that 1 French Open title. We know why, because all the others belong to Nadal. But anyway, that takes his tally to 20. So with Nadal on 19 and Federer for 20. At the moment, if we're basing on Grand Slam titles, we'll say that Roger Federer is the GOAT. But with Nadal on 19, Roger Federer could be caught soon. Just taking a look at his personal life, he's married to former WTA player Mirka. They met during the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. Roger and Mirka are parents to 4 children. They've got 2 sets of twins, a set of twin girls. They were born in 2009 and a set of twin boys who were born in 2014. Imagine how raucous that household has to be. And I'll keep your messages coming in. I want to hear your thoughts on tennis's Big Four. The handle is at ZiFM Sport on Facebook and Twitter. Remember, we've got our power play updates from the beautiful game. But for now, let's catch up with the latest in international sports news with Around the World in 60 from Chris.
Around the World in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in Rome, where Sebastian Vettel and Esteban Ocon believe a shorter Formula One season would still result in a worthy 2020 world champion, but they've stressed a more condensed campaign would place an extra premium on consistency, with Ocon admitting teams and drivers would be left without any jokers to play in their results. This year had been scheduled to be the longest Formula One campaign in history at 22 races, but the sport is now targeting a campaign of between 15 and 18 events once racing is able to resume in safe circumstances. We head over to Sydney, where veteran batsman David Warner believes Australia's upcoming limited overs tour of England will be scrapped because of the coronavirus pandemic. The Australians were scheduled to play 3 one-dayers and 3 T20 matches against England in July, although changes to the English country cricket season now make that impossible. There was speculation the tour could be delayed until September, but Warner was doubtful it would go ahead. Down in London, where Tommy Fleetwood has admitted he needs to win more frequently if he's to fulfill his ambition of reaching world number 1. The Englishman is a 5-time winner on the European Tour, most recently at the Nedbank Golf Challenge in November, but is still looking for a major title and first victory on the PGA Tour. Fleetwood has had runner-up finishes in majors in each of the last 2 years and failed to turn a 54-hole lead at the Honda Classic into victory last month in Florida, with the world number 10 looking to win more often to continue his rise up the world rankings.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
All right, let's continue our conversation on tennis's Big Four. We've heard about Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. Now, pause will feature Andy Murray. But before that, here's Barry profiling Novak Djokovic.
In January 2014, ESPN writer Howard Bryant called him arguably the best pure tennis player in the world. In April 2015, Tim Henman, Tiger Tim, the British tennis player, offered another comment on Djokovic's standing among the all-time greats, saying, "It's only a matter of time before he is considered alongside Federer and Nadal as one of the greatest players of all time." Well, he certainly is considered that now, because he is one of the big three, being Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer. And tennis as a whole has a privilege of seeing these 3 players playing in the same generation, meaning that tennis has the unique opportunity to have the age-old cross-generational question. And in football, it hasn't been answered, because who do you choose, Pele, Maradona, or Messi? In basketball, Jordan, Kobe, or LeBron? In tennis, it's being answered right before our eyes, because they're all playing at the same time. Let's talk about Novak Djokovic. He was born on the 22nd of May 1987 and is currently ranked world number 1 in men's singles tennis by the Association of Tennis Professionals, the ATP. His parents, Serdan and Diana, are proud to have a family of tennis players. Two of his two younger brothers, of course, being players themselves. That's Marco and Georgie. They're professional tennis players. In fact, it was his father who first put a racket into his hands at the tender age of 4 years old. In the summer of 1993, the 6-year-old was spotted by Yugoslav tennis player Jelena Jencic at Mount Kaponak, where Djokovic's parents were running a fast food parlor. Upon seeing the child Djokovic playing tennis, she stated, "This is the greatest talent I have seen since Monica Seles." Some compliment, because Monica Seles at the time was one of the leading tennis players in the world. Jencic worked with young Djokovic over the following 6 years before realizing that due to his rapid development, going abroad in search of increased level of competition was the best option for his future. She contacted Nikola Pilic, and in September 1999, the 12-year-old moved to the Pilic Tennis Academy in Munich, Germany, spending 4 years there. At the age of 14, he began his international career, winning European championships in singles, doubles, and team competition. As a member of the Yugoslav national team, Djokovic reached the final of the 2001 Junior Davis Cup of 4 players, 14 and under, in which he lost his match in the singles. In that year, at the age of 14, Djokovic ended up as a triple European champion in singles, doubles, and team competition. He also won the silver medal at the World Junior Championship for Yugoslavia. At the Junior Grand Slam tournaments, his best showing was at the Australian Open, where he reached the semi-finals in 2004. The Australian Open is now the Grand Slam where he has won the most titles in his career. That's 8. So he loves Australia. And it was in Australia where he made his first Grand Slam appearance by qualifying for the 2005 Australian Open, where he defeated the eventual champion Marat Safin in the first round. He was defeated by Marat Safin in the first round in straight sets after defeating future rival Stanislas Wawrinka in the qualifying rounds. Let's jump to 2016. Now, Djokovic defeated Andy Murray in the final of the 2016 French Open in 4 sets, making him the reigning champion in all 4 major tournaments, a historic feat that the media called the Nole Slam. With his French Open triumph, Djokovic became the 8th player in history and the 2nd oldest to achieve a career Grand Slam, the 3rd player in history to hold all 4 Grand Slam titles at the same time, and the 1st player to win $100 million in prize money. Djokovic is one of 4 players to defeat Roger Federer 3 times in 1 year, and one of only 2 players to beat Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal in a Grand Slam in consecutive matches, and he's the only player who has defeated both Federer and Nadal in the same tournament on 3 different occasions. Now, tennis pundits have also classified his matches as some of the biggest contests ever, with the final of the 2012 Australian Open as the greatest match ever seen, and more recently, that Wimbledon final last year against Roger Federer, where he won his 16th Grand Slam, defending his title to win the tournament for a 5th time by winning an epic 5-set final that lasted, get this, 4 hours and 57 minutes. I'm sure you all remember it. It's the longest in Wimbledon history. Now, Djokovic saved 2 championship points in the 5th set en route to winning the title and the match, which also marked the first time a 5th set tiebreak was played in the men's singles of Wimbledon at 12 games all. His best shot is his backhand down the line with a great pace and precision. He's also known as one of the greatest movers on the court with high agility, court coverage, and defensive ability, which allows him to hit winners from seemingly defensive positions. Djokovic has won 17 Grand Slam singles titles, the 3rd most in history for a male player. Of course, in front of him, Rafael Nadal, who has 2 more than him, and of course, Roger Federer, who has 3 more than him. 5 ATP finals titles, 34 ATP Tour Grandmasters 1000 titles, 14 ATP Tour 500 titles, and has held the #1 spot in the ATP rankings for over 280 weeks. In majors, he has won a record 8 Australian Open titles, 5 Wimbledon titles, 3 US Open titles, and only 1 French Open title. The reason he's only won 1 French Open title, we know that Nadal Rafael Nadal has an absolute franchise on the French Open. Now, Djokovic has won numerous awards, including the Laureus World Sports Award for Sportsman of the Year 4 times and the 2011 BBC Overseas Sports Personality of the Year Award. He met his would-be wife, Jelena Ristic, in high school, would you believe? And on the 10th of July 2014, the couple got married, and they have a son named Stefan and a daughter named Tara. Djokovic is a self-described fan of languages. He speaks Serbian, English, French, German, and Italian. His life philosophy is this, he says: "Belief is the most common word to me, even more than hope. For one to achieve his dreams, he needs to believe in them truly." And we certainly believe that Novak Djokovic is one of the best to ever do it.
Hi, this is Benjamin Locke. I'm on the Zimbabwe Davis Cup team, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Andrew Barron Murray, now Sir Andrew Barron Murray, born on the 15th of May 1987. Andy Murray was born in Glasgow, Scotland, the son of Judy Murray and William Murray. Now, his maternal grandfather, incidentally, Roy Erskine, was a professional footballer in the late 1950s, and Murray, a big supporter of Hibernian Football Club, one of the teams his grandfather represented, and Arsenal Football Club. Now, Murray began playing tennis at the age of 3 when his mother Judy took him to play on the local courts, and he played his first competitive tournament at the age of 5, and by then he was already showing signs that he had what it took to be a top-class player. When he was 8, he was competing with adults in the Central District Tennis League. His elder brother Jamie is also a tennis professional, playing mainly on the doubles circuit, and became a multiple Grand Slam winner in doubles, both men's and mixed. Never really a singles player was Jamie, but certainly shown his potential as a doubles player. Now, both Murrays grew up in Dunblane, and we all know about Dunblane, or for those that follow news, the Dunblane School Massacre in 1996, when that dreadful man Thomas Hamilton killed 16 children and a teacher before shooting himself. Murray took cover in a nearby classroom, and he certainly has some very, very horrid memories of that day in Dunblane. Now, his parents split up when he was 10, and the boys lived with their father, but their mother continued to mentor their tennis, and she certainly believed that he could go on to big things. He was actually asked to train with Rangers Football Club because he was a pretty decent footballer as well, but he decided that he would go to Spain and focus on his tennis career, and he joined an international school there and trained on the clay courts at the Sanchez Casal Academy, which was coached by Pato Alaves. Now, he described this time as a big sacrifice. His parents had to find money to pay for his 18-month stint there, and he trained with Emilio Sanchez, a former world number 1 doubles player, and his parents really dug deep and believed in his potential in being a top-class tennis player. Now, he represented Great Britain in his sporting activities. He's a 3-time Grand Slam tournament winner. He's a 2-time Olympic champion, Davis Cup champion, winner of the 2016 ATP World Tour Finals, and he's also a former world number 1. His greatest achievements, no doubt, and certainly for Britain, was when he defeated Novak Djokovic in the 2012 US Open final, becoming the first British player since 1977 and the first British man since 1936 to win a Grand Slam singles tournament. Then he went one step further and became a cult hero, becoming the first British man to win multiple Wimbledon singles titles since Fred Perry in 1936, winning the tournament at Wimbledon in 2013 and repeating the feat again in 2016. In 2013, he beat Novak Djokovic in 3 straight sets, 6-4, 7-5, 6-4, and was in the peak of his career, and nothing could stop Andy Murray. In 2016, he came face-to-face with the Canadian Milos Raonic, beating him on grass also in 3 sets, 6-4, 7-6, 7-6. Now, he could have actually been a 9-time Grand Slam winner, because if you look at his stats, Australian Open, he was a finalist in 2010, 2011, 2013, 2015, and 2016. He was a finalist at the French Open in 2016. He won, obviously, Wimbledon in 2013 and 2016, and won the US Open in 2012. He's the men's singles 2012 and 2016 Olympic gold medalist. Not many people can say that they hold 2 gold medals at tennis from 2 different Olympic games. He featured in Great Britain's Davis Cup winning team in 2015, going 11-0 up in his matches, 8 singles and 3 doubles as they secured their first Davis Cup title since 1936. He's won just over $61.5 million on the tour. He's won 46 career titles, 14th in the Open era. He reached number 1 in November 2016. That was when he was really at the peak of his game, and currently ranked at number 129 in the world. Now, the latter years of Andy Murray, his fallout to the top 800 due to various hip injuries and his knee problems from when he was a kid, which at one time was set to end his career. But with sheer determination and grit, Murray has forced his way back onto the courts and is slowly making a comeback. Will he win another Grand Slam? In my opinion, I think he's done. His comeback will just prove to be that he can still compete at the highest level, but I don't think he can win big again, a Grand Slam that is. For me, he's got quite a sour demeanor and a strange attitude, in my opinion. He's not a Federer, he's not a Djokovic, he's not a Nadal. They all come across as likable guys. Murray is not like them. He's a different player, he's a different person. He's always lacked that character and charisma for me, but one thing I've noticed, he's had a lot of coaches throughout his career, and I mean, he's been linked with some real top players. I mean, we know that he had Pato Alaves early on in his career. He had Mark Petchey, Brad Gilbert, Miles McClagan, Alex Correia, remember him? Ivan Lendl, wow. I mean, Emilio Maresmo, she came in at one stage, Jonas Bjorkman and Jamie Delgado. And that just shows that he obviously can't stick with a coach for too long, and I wonder if that's hampered his career path, and would he have gone on to win all those Grand Slams that he reached the final in. He was knighted in 2017 in the New Year's Honours for services to tennis and charity, and quite rightly so. He's a son of Britain. He's won Wimbledon twice. He was the first man since 1936 to do it. So he probably deserves it, but I don't see Andy Murray coming out and winning another Grand Slam tennis tournament anytime soon.
Maza. Now the jab is when he wins, he's a Brit, but when he loses, he's a Scotsman. Murray is yet another one who could have lost to football, like we heard from Paz, that he almost joined Rangers and almost played for their juniors. But again, thank goodness he chose football. Now presently, he is actually still a Rangers fan, and he also supports Arsenal. Clearly, Andy Murray knows his football. And one thing I like about Murray as well is that he's a hardcore gamer. He always takes his PlayStation wherever he goes with them. Now, just yesterday, I watched Murray destroy Rafael Nadal in the virtual Madrid Open. And in 2009, there was a story that him and his girlfriend broke up because he was addicted to video games. But listen, that wasn't true. The two stayed together, they got married, and they had a baby. But before we heard about Murray, Barry spoke about Nole or Joko, the Serb, Novak Djokovic, the man regarded as the best returner the game has ever seen. Now, there's a touching story that I really like about Novak Djokovic, which sort of encapsulates the man he is today. And it all starts in the European summer of 1993 when he was 6 years old. Now, he was spotted by Yugoslavian tennis legend Jelena Gekic. Gekic then worked with Djokovic for the next 6 years. Now, during this time, the war of former Yugoslavia and the bombing of Belgrade meant that for almost 3 months, Djokovic and his family would spend time hiding in a basement. Now, Djokovic said that those hardships of war are what drove him to pursue tennis with greater determination. And at 13, he was sent to the Pilic Academy in Munich to pursue tennis on a higher level. The rest is 17-time Grand Slam championships. I talked about how Rafael Nadal could catch up to Roger Federer, but Novak Djokovic is also hot on the heels, and he could possibly be the next GOAT. But I wonder, where is the next generation? Are players like Dominic Thiem, Alexandra Zverev, and Stefanos Tsitsipas gonna carry through the mantle? We'll have to wait and see. Let's take a bit of a breather now with our power play.
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. You're tuned into ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station. This is the lockdown edition of ZiFM Sport on a Wednesday, Wacky Wednesday. The handle is at ZiFM Sport on Facebook and Twitter. If you want to get in touch, you can look for us in our individual capacities at Barry Manandi, Mike Madoda, Chris, Alice Bunjira, Mark Paz, and myself, Sean Tafirenyika. Let's now go to the football pitch and get the latest in the world of football in the beautiful game.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. all the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back here's Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudent. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
All right, now the Premier League clubs are concerned about supporters gathering outside stadiums if the season resumes and fear football will be blamed if breaches of physical distancing guidelines result in a rise in coronavirus cases. Although the government this week declared that its desire is to see football back, quote, as soon as possible, it is understood a range of potential complications will be raised when top-flight clubs hold a pivotal meeting on Friday to discuss how to complete the season. Several clubs are worried about the public gatherings outside stadiums where games are taking place behind closed doors, and there are reservations about how to solve contract issues involving players, the capacity for testing, and whether playing in neutral venues would be an artificial construct. And those concerns, while real, I think have various solutions, and I hope that on Friday when the Premier League clubs meet, they will have those solutions on hand. Because if you look at the issue of fans gathering outside stadiums, there's two options that I think that present themselves immediately, and that is, number one, block off access to those stadiums and make sure that there is sufficient distance from the stadiums that it won't be attractive for fans to gather outside stadiums. So the stadium in itself becomes an isolation zone where the game is taking place. That's number one. Number two is also to then come up with laws and rules that govern games and say that any club that has fans gathering outside the stadium, that game immediately becomes postponed and is suspended and cancelled, in fact, almost immediately. I think that may deter fans, because the one thing that fans love, albeit that they have blind loyalty to their teams, the one thing that fans love is to see their teams with an opportunity to collect 3 points. If that opportunity is removed because of their actions, chances are they may behave in a more responsible fashion. Now, many issues have not yet been properly discussed, with one official saying that clubs remain in the dark over a restart plan and that Friday's meeting will be key to finding a path towards a potential resumption in mid-June. That's the sort of timeline that they're looking at. Yet with some clubs questioning whether the government is trying to use football as a distraction amid criticism of its COVID-19 strategy and tensions over the lockdown, there is a growing feeling that the Premier League's return could have unwanted consequences, those consequences that we did discuss. Now, several clubs fear the prospect of mass gatherings outside stadiums or supporters meeting in homes to watch games, and there are concerns that even playing in neutral venues may not dissuade fans from travelling to them. Worries also surround supporters moving into public spaces to celebrate major victories, and one club questioned whether it would be possible to stop people playing football in parks if the professional game is back on television screens. Clubs do not want to become scapegoats, and I think that's the key, that if football is on TV, chances are, it happens with all sport. Every time that the Cricket World Cup is on, what do you find? You find kids in streets playing cricket all of a sudden. Everyone becomes captured. The imagination is captured when sport is on TV. So chances are, if football is back on TV, there's going to be a little more of an incentive for people to gather in parks, and possibly the Sunday leagues, as they call them, which in Zimbabwe we call boozers, might actually spark their leagues up once again. So it has to be approached with caution, and also that the top tier clubs are not blamed for what will be happening in the United Kingdom. Now, ultimately, the league's approach will be informed by the government and medical experts. There's no desire to return before it is safe, and although Premier League sides are watching with interest as the Bundesliga prepares to resume on May the 9th, they know there is more capacity for testing in Germany than in the United Kingdom. Clubs do not want to take tests from the NHS or key workers. One club said fans had contacted them to express concerns about restarting the season, and though all of those are valid concerns and need to be considered in any sort of format of restarting the league. We'll see how that meeting on Friday takes place. It is a virtual meeting, so they are social distancing. Will they decide to carry on and restart the league in England? We certainly want it back.
Z. The league that makes football oh so beautiful. Where artistry and strokes of genius are the order of any day. Where the game is played with a smile and the little master creates his magic.
It's Lionel Messi!
All the news from the Spanish La Liga on ZiFM Sport.
The goal the world wanted!
Good news coming out of Spain, and it is that professional sports people in that country have been given the go-ahead to return to training from Monday as part of the country's plan to get out of lockdown. The allowance of individual training sessions is part of Phase 0, the preparatory phase of the schedule announced by the country's president, Pedro Sanchez. Spain has been one of the nations hardest hit by the coronavirus deaths, and the news of a possible return to sporting action came on the same day. Any such return was ruled out completely by neighbours France, where there will be no football played until September at the earliest. Now, training sessions at club centres will be allowed in Phase 1, which gets underway on May 11, although there will remain added measures in place to avoid a second peak of the virus. So they will be taking a look at those training sessions, minimizing contact, making sure that players are adhering to whatever rules are in place to make sure that there's no second wave of the coronavirus that could start and could derail this reintegration into a normal way of life in Spain. La Liga, who are the custodians of football in Spain, they've already sent clubs a detailed set of protocols to follow once training is allowed, including a preparation phase followed by individual practices, smaller group sessions, and finally full squad sessions. So they're basically saying, you know what, we've got a phased approach to this. We're not just going to rush back and say, hey, let's get back into the normal training sessions that we've been experiencing prior to the coronavirus pandemic, but they're going to start with individual training sessions. And I think those are important because those will help players get back up to speed from a physical point of view, because surely in terms of fitness, the players can't be as fit as they were in February or as they were before the games were stopped to play. So those will be great. A lot of gym sessions, a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of ball work individually by the players. And then they're going to get into smaller groups as they start making the journey towards full training sessions. And then finally, of course, the full squad sessions. And I think we'll see those about a couple of weeks before the resumption of play. I expect resumption of play in the major leagues of Europe to be in June, early June. And then there will be football in the summer, which is actually quite a great thing because football in Europe traditionally is played when the temperatures are starting to dip. So the only ever pleasant months that you get to go and watch a football game when you're in Europe, especially in England, for example, is August, September, and part of October, because November, December, January, February, March, those months can be bitingly cold. So this is going to be great for the guys in Europe. You know, they can start attending football matches wearing shorts and t-shirts. It's going to be sunny at times. It's going to be warm. And so it's going to be great weather for them to enjoy the game they love the most. That's if the fans allowed into the stadiums. That's a decision that will have to be taken later. But if not, they'll be playing behind closed doors. And I think these leagues have already drawn up plans that allow them to play the game behind closed doors. And I think the English Premier League is talking about 250 or so individuals needed to make a game come to pass. Bundesliga is talking about 300 individuals. They're also talking about tests for those individuals involved. So it's very interesting. But I think Spain is determined that the season be played out. You know, there's also the politics that they need to manage. Barcelona right now is leading the table. Real Madrid feel that they have a chance to win the La Liga title, so they'll be putting pressure and advocating for the season to be brought to a definitive end so that they can win that title, seeing as they are trailing in the Champions League to Manchester City, and none of those big two want to end the season trophyless.
Z. Horsepower unmatched. Torque to beat the best. Speed unrivaled. Sleek and easy on the eye. Let's get behind the wheel of football engineered to perfection. The Bundesliga, made in Germany.
Jadon Sancho can leave Borussia Dortmund in the summer if any club matches their asking price, according to Sport Bild. The England international has a contract with the Bundesliga club until 2022, and whilst there is no release clause, there is a mutual agreement that Sancho can leave in the summer if a suitable offer comes in. As you know, Manchester United appear to be the front runners to sign the 20-year-old. However, the Premier League club will need to break their transfer record of 105 million euros, which was used to sign Paul Pogba in 2016. The problem being that given the current health crisis, clubs will be reluctant to spend such a sum in the coming transfer window. Sancho has been told that if he comes to Manchester United, he will get the jersey number 7. Quite interesting. I want to start with the jersey number 7. There is something about jersey number 7 in England. They value that jersey, and it has spilled also to Spain. They now value jersey number 7. We saw it, Real Madrid, Cristiano Ronaldo taking over from Raul. They respect that jersey. At Manchester United, it was David Beckham. It was Eric Cantona. Then it was Cristiano Ronaldo. They value that jersey a lot. So we wonder what is the secret behind the number 7. But yeah, he has been promised that in England, he is an English boy, he might be enticed by that one. But coming to the transfer, to the real transfer market, 105 million pounds, Jadon Sancho, is he worth it? I would say yes. Can Manchester United buy him? Can they afford him? I would say yes. Would Borussia Dortmund be able to release him, or are they willing to release him? I would also say yes. But what is the problem? The problem that I can see is the current environment, the current situation. Like I've said, the current situation about the coronavirus pandemic. Will clubs be willing to spend so much money? Will clubs be willing to spend so much money in a situation whereby they don't know what the future is, according to the transfer market, players getting a pay cut, TV revenue and all that? But there is always somehow where people need to take a risk. So I ask that question, is he worth it? I think he is worth 105 million euros, but the crisis, that is the biggest problem. Would you want to go to Manchester United? Obviously yes, with a doubt. Manchester United might not qualify to play in the Champions League. That might just be a downside. But being an England boy, being an English boy, he might just want to play for Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in Europe, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And obviously in a few years ago, they were undoubtedly the biggest club in England. A lot of others have caught up, I should say. But I'm sure he would love to play for an English big club. So it's enticing. But the coronavirus, that is the biggest problem. Will they be able to pay? That is Manchester United. Will they be able to pay 105 million pounds? So you may ask, if you were Aloy, if you were the CEO of Manchester United, or if you are the one that is holding the purse, Alois Bunjira, would you buy Jadon Sancho? Yes. I would say yes. I'll take the risk. He is 20 years old. We don't know when the pandemic is going to end. Probably maybe 1 year. Let's give it 1 year. Probably we'll start playing football again. I would still think that he will be worth it. He is an England international. He is doing well at Borussia Dortmund. He is worth that much. He's got so much potential, and he is already in the England national team. Yes, Manchester United should buy him straight away. I like him. He's a very good player. He scores goals. He creates goals as well. So I should say he should.
Z. The Nerazzurri, the Black and Blues, Inter Milan.
It's Romelu Lukaku, and it was never in doubt. He's a beast at the best of times, but this season he has become a monster.
The Giallorossi, the Yellow and Reds, AS Roma.
Belotti has a go! Tremendous hits! That's what he's capable of.
La Viola, the Purple Ones, Fiorentina.
Franck Ribéry seals a glorious win for Fiorentina with a sumptuous goal at San Siro.
The Bianconeri, the Black and Whites, Juventus.
Ronaldo seals yet another 3 points for Juventus.
Tough yet colourful. The best of Italian football on Z.
To the Serie A we go, and Juventus forward Paulo Dybala has reportedly tested positive for COVID-19 for the 4th time, according to reports from Italian and Spanish media. La Gioia confirmed the news on the 21st of March, stating that both he and partner Oriana Sabatini had tested positive for the coronavirus. Sky Sport Italia and Al Cheritugu now report that the Argentine has had 4 tests in the last 39 days, and the most recent was positive once again.
Z.
Just like that, we gotta go. We've run out of time, but we'll be back tomorrow for the show that takes you closer to your sports stars. ZiFM Sport on a Thursday, Throwback Thursday. So make sure you tune in and you don't miss it. Until then, stay safe.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, on top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.